Morning, Brownsville. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you're watching this feed. If this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Frankie Olivo. Our program focuses on the very important issues that are affecting our local community. We have shed light on injustices, and we have allowed for our platform, this mic, to be that of the voice of the people. Now, if this is something that you can see yourself supporting, we ask that you like, comment, and share this live feed. Now, as of late, our Facebook page is at risk of being taken down. The powers that be do not want you, the voter, to know the truth. But remember, we will not be silenced. If you're really about corruption and wanting to stand up to corruption and wanting to hold our elected leaders accountable, we ask that you subscribe to our social media platforms. You can subscribe to both Facebook and YouTube. On Facebook, we could be found under Frankie Olivo. And you can also subscribe to our YouTube page titled Frankie Olivo TV. Remember, Good Morning Brownsville will come on Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. religiously, rain or shine. So make sure you subscribe to Frankie Olivo TV on YouTube to tune in every day. We will not be silenced. And as always, Brownsville, thank you to each and every one of you for your time and your attention that you provide us. Thank you so much. How we doing, chat? How we doing? Happy Tuesday. It is going to be a gloomy day. Yesterday, we did see some rain. We should anticipate more rain today and tomorrow. But hey, Hernandez, who says gloomy days aren't good days? I personally love gloomy days. They're my favorite. People have been asking me, why are you only now on YouTube? Well, we're transitioning. We're trying to get our numbers up. Again, we're very thankful that we have been watched by the thousands. On Facebook, our numbers are great. But we want to balance it out. We want to bring that traffic that we see from Facebook, we want to transfer that over to YouTube little by little. People have asked me, Frankie, you have a great thing going. I want to support you. What's the best way? Do you need money? What do you need? Do you need my car? Well, it depends what car you drive. I'm joking. The best way my people could help the cause, could support, I ask for two things, and I don't think I'm asking for much. If you ever see me out, give me a taco de frijoles con quesito. That's all I ask. When I would go on missionary works with my grandfather to San Luis Potosí, we would go to ranches where people were very humble, and they would offer us, to stay. And the best thing that they can give us was food, and that's what we, to them, a taco de frijol con su quesito was as if they were giving you $1,000. Also, the most important way that you could support the cause, could help me, benefit me, is subscribe to YouTube. We could be found under Frankie Olivo TV. Get your friends, get your family to subscribe. The goal of ours is to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year. Now, I do have my team saying, hey, we need to get there quicker. We're currently at around 700. If I'm not mistaken. So we're right at the mark, and we've been growing at a rapid pace. And thank you so much, Brownsville. But so if you can do me that few favors, if you see me out in the streets, un taquito de frijol con su quesito. That's all I ask. Also, hey, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to Frankie Olivo TV. Get your friends, get your family to tune in. That's the best way, Brownsville, that you can support our platform, Good Morning Brownsville, and it will go a long way for your humble servant. And once again, thank you so much for your time and your attention. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be talking about a very interesting topic that has transpired as of late. Today, we'll be talking about and asking the question, is the state senator, Adam Hinojosa, and local Republicans, are they meddling in the local Democratic county clerk's primary race? It's going to be very interesting today. So, ladies and gentlemen, sit back and tune in, because today we're going to dive into both parties, the Republican and the Democratic parties that we have here locally. And we're going to ask the question, hey, is this the norm for us moving forward? Are we going to see how people are going to be crossing party lines for getting people elected? Well, only time will tell. And that is how we will start today's show. Thank you so much, Brownsville, for tuning in.
I'm the administrator for all of Hidalgo County and all of Webb County. I've worked since I was almost 10 years old. I lied about my age when I was 15. I took a test so I could get a part-time job at Woolco. You all remember that? And I worked to help my mom, take care of my brothers. When I graduated from high school, I didn't have the opportunity to go away to college because I needed to help my mom raise my brothers. But I stayed here and I've made this my home. And I want to stay here for the rest of my life. And I want to make sure that whatever I do, whatever I grew up with without, I want to make sure that I can be an example to other people. And that I can show the community that if someone like me can be successful when you have nothing, anybody has an opportunity. And so I really want to make sure that I serve the people and that we continue to provide the great service that's been offered at the county clerk's office. As you know, I have 4 opponents that are running against me, but I think because of my background and because of all the volunteer work I've done in my community, that people know me, that they know my heart. My heart is not about gaining power. It's not about that. It's about community service. I strongly believe that if you want to be somewhere, you want to be someone, you want to run for office, you have to serve your community and you have to volunteer. And I'll tell you, I've done 22 years of volunteer service with United Way, and many of you that work at your company know I've done it for many years. I was a campaign chair one year and I raised $1.5 million for the Cameron County. I've gone out and worked with a lot of the community centers here, a lot of the nonprofit agencies, and I do it because I grew up without a lot of things. And I want to make sure that other children and other adults in this community have a voice and that someone's advocating for them and that we are there to help each other. And we can only make and improve our community when we help one another. And so that's why I'm running for office. The position, as you well know, is the position that administers all the records for the county. I think with my experience doing that right now, working with physicians all across the Rio Grande Valley, I have the ability to do that. I have the experience and the education. And all I can ask for is for your support and for your vote, for you to go tell other people, your friends, aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters, come out and vote because we can't make a difference and we can't win an election unless we have your vote. So I thank you again, Adrian and Norma. Thank you so much. And I appreciate all of you for being here. And we have bumper stickers and cards. Again, thank you so much, guys, and go out and vote. Come on.
Check this out.
Hello, family, friends, and supporters. We are here today at the Cameron County Courthouse Judicial Complex. I'd like to remind everyone that early voting is still in effect, and I encourage you to come out and vote so that we may keep our position to continue serving you as your BISD Board Trustee Place 2. This is the last week of early voting. Polls will be opening from 8 a.m. and closing at 8 p.m. Election day is Tuesday, November 8th. See you at the polls.
What we have, ladies and gentlemen, what we have before us in the March primary is a very, very interesting race. We have 2 very formidable opponents going up against each other. What is interesting to learn from this race, ladies and gentlemen, is the dynamics, the players. When we talk about Cameron County Democratic heavyweights, we think of Cameron County Judge Eddie Trevino. We think of Miss Erin Gomez, our state rep. We think of former Sheriff Lucio, may God rest his soul. We think of Tony Aguirre. And in those list of heavyweights that Cameron County, the Democratic Party, has seen, in those heavyweights is none other than Miss Sylvia Garza Perez. For those that know Miss Sylvia Garza Perez, she is the ultimate politica. When you think of an individual that is campaigning, that is constantly working it, it's Miss Sylvia Garza Perez. And what we have seen as of late has been that individuals have challenged these Democratic heavyweights. What many said was impossible to dethrone the incumbents, well, we have seen how there have been challengers that have been successful. When we talk about the sheriff, we saw how Eric Garza, who was the Cameron County District Clerk at the time, well, he stepped down, but he was successful in dethroning Sheriff Lucio, something that nobody thought would happen. When we talk about the Cameron County tax assessor, Tony Aguirre, who served the community and in that position for decades, everybody thought nobody could beat Tony. It's impossible. Save your money. Don't even run. Well, we saw former board member, BISD board member, Eddie Garcia, do the unthinkable. Now, ladies and gentlemen, now we have something very similar. We have a race that is going to be very, very interesting. And many people have asked, does Denise Garza have what it takes to dethrone the likes of Sylvia Garza Perez? Again, whenever you think of heavyweights, powerhouses, people that move, Sylvia Garza Perez is up there. Something very interesting that we have seen as of late, ladies and gentlemen, was what transpired just last week. It was no secret. It has been no secret that BISD board member Denise Garza had set her eyes on the next political race. It has been rumored for a long time that she would eventually set her sights on Cameron County. People anticipated for her to challenge the Cameron County clerk. Now, Denise Garza recently had an event just this last week in her announcement of declaring for the position of Cameron County clerk. And while we did see a great turnout at her event, if you go through her pictures, we saw how many people were present at her event. What was interesting, and again, it's very telling whenever you see these pictures. And if you look at and if you go to her page, Denise Garza for Cameron County Clerk, if you go through her pictures of her campaign party, of her campaign announcement, we see that it was packed. It was a great turnout. And what is very telling about these parties, ladies and gentlemen, Erasmo Castro would always joke and he would always say, hey, it's always the same people. It's always the politicos that are there. They're just, there for the food. But what was interesting about this announcement party, ladies and gentlemen, was the people that were there. When you go through her pictures, yes, you find BISD employees, BISD board members. Heck, we even saw former Superintendent Rene Gutierrez attend her announcement party. But what was interesting to see, to gather from these pictures is that it is not a lot of politicos. Yes, you do see them sprinkled in there, but for the most part, they're community members. And that's something that you want to see, right? Because at these functions, for the most part, all you see is politicos. They travel from one campaign party to the next. So it was encouraging to see the community out in support for Ms. Denise Garza in her announcement party. But again, we're here to talk about a very, very telling picture. Before you, ladies and gentlemen, before you, this picture I have Mr. Zeke Silva on the left and Mr. Jared Hakama on the right. It seems as if individuals from both worlds of the spectrum were present. And why do I say that? Well, it's very telling because of who was there. When we start off by and if individuals don't know, Mr. Zeke Silva used to work for Alejandro Dominguez, our former representative in Austin. Mr. Zeke Silva is aware with the lingo, with the life at the Capitol. And what we have seen from Mr. Zeke Silva has been that he has gotten close to Senator Adam Hinojosa. How close, you may ask? Well, just recently, when Adam Hinojosa beat Morgan La Mantilla as our Texas State Senator for our area, well, he hired Zeke Silva. Zeke Silva is a local entrepreneur. He currently owns and manages a coffee shop in downtown Brownsville. So it's very interesting whenever we see a picture with the likes of a Republican staffer that works for Adam Hinojosa. So to Denise Garza's left, we have a Republican staffer. And on the right, we have Jared Hakama. And for those individuals that aren't aware of Jared Hakama is the Democratic chairperson for Cameron County. And if you don't know, Jared Hakama is good at what he does. This guy is very skilled. He's a jack of all trades. He does 3-4 things at once. But one thing that is apparent from those that have dealt with Jared Hakama is he's blue through and through, and he will support the candidates that sign up as a Democratic nominee for Cameron County. Now, again, the many people have been talking about Denise Garza coming up. And last Wednesday, she did have an announcement party. Some individuals are even questioning, why is Denise Garza having an announcement party in the summer? People are traveling. Teachers are on vacation. People don't want to talk politics. Again, I'm thankful that we've been having a great viewership during the summer because for the most part, everybody is on relax mode. Nobody wants to talk about politics. We just got done with a city election that was extended because of a city runoff. So right now, everybody's on vacation mode. People are questioning, why did Denise Garza have an announcement party in late June when nobody wants to talk politics right now? Everybody waits until back to school in August, early September, and then they start hitting the campaign trail hard. People were even questioning, well, Frankie, these people that showed up to the event, and if you haven't seen the pictures, I encourage you to go to Ms. Denise Garza for Cameron County page and go through the pictures. One thing that people mentioned to me was there wasn't people from outside of Brownsville. It was mainly family. It was mainly friends. Again, you need that support system You need those faithful backers to come and work your campaign, believe in your platform. But when you go through the pictures, it's not really people from northern Cameron County. Again, do we expect people from Harlingen, San Benito, La Feria to travel down for an announcement party? Not necessarily. Does Denise Garza plan to hold events in Harlingen, in San Benito? We anticipate, yes. Why? Because if you don't know Sylvia Garza Perez, she works it. And she's a go-getter, and she's a politica through and through. She's on campaign mode, campaign season, 24/7, ladies and gentlemen. 24/7. But again, what have we seen lately here locally? This picture got my attention, ladies and gentlemen, because it is a Republican staffer and the Democratic chair that are taking a picture with the Democratic opponent. Now, when they say that politics makes strange bedfellows, you know they're talking about the city of Brownsville and Cameron County. What we have seen locally, ladies and gentlemen, from our elected officials as of late has been the meddling of politics. Whenever we think of red and blue, we always, well, at least to me, you may have a difference of opinion, but whenever we think of red Republicans, we think die-hard MAGA. You know, if you aren't aligned with MAGA, if you aren't aligned with President Trump, with the Reagan doctrine, you are not a true Republican. If you dare cross the party line and openly support a Democrat, you are not a Republican. Again, that's the way I see politics. Maybe that's more on the national stage. Here locally, we have seen something very, very interesting as of late, where Republicans have put up money for the likes of Pedrito Cárdenas, who ran for District 4 for the city of Brownsville City Council. Anyone that knows politics knows that Pedrito Cárdenas is a die-hard Democrat. There's even questions now as to where does his allegiance lie? Is he going to endorse a Republican candidate that will eventually challenge the likes of Congressman Vicente Gonzalez? That was the rumor. That is what Good Morning Brownsville reported. That the expectation of the Republicans, because the Republicans spent money on a Democrat, which is Pedrito Cárdenas, in sending mass text messages to support Pedrito Cárdenas, to vote for him in his race against Daisy Zamora for District 4. Now, I'm not saying that it's bad, it's a bad thing, but optics is everything. Whenever we think of Republicans, ladies and gentlemen, we're not just talking about the Republicans here in Brownsville, here in Cameron County, because guess who's watching? The people with the big bucks, the big donors, people up in Austin and Dallas and Houston. Don't you think that they're aware of what's going on down here? ¿Qué están haciendo esos mexicanos? Are they supporting Republicans? Are they endorsing Republicans? Are they spending money on Republicans? Are they getting Republican candidates to run against Democrats? That is what on the big stage we see. Austin, Dallas, Houston, the big bug donors, they're looking at all this. And what have we seen as of late? Well, we saw that Deborah Jobless Bell, the Cameron County Republican Party chair, was cheering and campaigning for Pedrito Cárdenas and Nurit Golonsky in the city races. And heck, being MAGA Republicans, Susan Rubalcaba for the corrupt, and Deborah Jobless Bell, they campaigned and they took credit for all of the city Brownsville election officials' wins. And again, these are nonpartisan races. But again, we ask you the question, are we going to see Republicans meddle in Democratic primaries? And I know what you're saying, Frankie. Hey, look, Mr. Zeke Silva, he's not representing Adam Hinojosa. He went there as a friend. He just went there as a, hey, good luck, man. Maybe he's got a personal vendetta against Sylvia Garza Perez. I don't know. But optics, ladies and gentlemen, optics is everything, especially in politics. Why? Because in politics, ladies and gentlemen, you have to learn how to read the room. Now, we can make many arguments as to try to validate the reason why he was there. Is this another example of Republicans choosing Democratic candidates and they're supporting them and they're spending their personal time and they're showing up and showing support? Many people might say, you know what, you're reading too much into this. Well, are we? Now, why is he doing that? Well, remember what we saw not too long ago? Shortly after Pedrito Cárdenas had his swearing in, Pedrito Cárdenas and Nuris Galansky, we saw this picture that I have before you. And if you look at the center of the picture of the individuals sitting down, in yellow, from left to right, we have Ms. Sylvia Garza Perez. To her right, if you don't, if she doesn't look familiar to you, that's because that is Morgan La Mantilla, our former senator, wearing black, a black shirt with black hair. And again, when I first saw this picture, I thought, oh, that's Sylvia Garza with her friends. And, they're like, no, Frankie, look at the picture. Who is Sylvia Garza sitting next to? I was like, I have no idea. I was like, no way. That's Morgan La Mantilla. She looks different with her black hair. Miss Morgan, I prefer you blonde. You're a beautiful woman, but stick to blonde. But is this a way to say, hey, we saw that picture of you, Morgan? But many people have even stated, well, Frankie, Morgan's challenging Chuy Hinojosa out of Hidalgo for district, what is it, 30? I may be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat. She's going to challenge Chuy Hinojosa in Hidalgo. She's not gonna challenge Adam Hinojosa. Well, maybe she will. Again, who else has $1 million, $2 million to spend here locally? Not many people, not many Democrats. Now, could a Democratic candidate raise $1 million, $2, $3 million for that race? It'll be difficult. It's not impossible, but it'll be difficult. Do you see where I'm going at? Is this a jab at Ms. Sylvia Garza Perez? Hey, you are sitting down with a potential opponent for our current Senator Adam Hinojosa. So you know what? I'm going to send my guy to go up against your opponent. And I'm going to make sure that he takes a picture with you, with her. Do you see where I'm getting at, ladies and gentlemen? Optics. Optics are everything. And in politics, ladies and gentlemen, it's awesome. It's amazing. Again, you have to be involved in this world. You have to be in those circles to understand that, man, that's very telling. This picture of Zeke Silva, a Republican staffer, supporting. Some could even argue, hey, does this mean that the Senator Hinojosa is endorsing Ms. Denise Garza for her to dethrone the incumbent? I don't know. And again, our job here at Good Morning Brownsville, ladies and gentlemen, is to get the conversation starting. Hey, what's up with this? What are your thoughts on this? I guess to the average people, to the average Joe, they overlook these things. But the politicos, they're like, oh, look, mira. They're always looking at who went. They're always looking at if it was a packed house. They're always looking at who's endorsing, who's supporting, who's campaigning for them, who's donating money. The politicos, that's all they look at. Why? Because they want to measure themselves. Hey, how do we look? Are we strong or not? And again, Ms. Sylvia Garza Perez, she's strong. Politica through and through. This woman, the day she wakes up, campaigning, boom. She's a strong, formidable opponent. Will Ms. Denise Garza be able to dethrone her? Time will tell. Time will tell. Another interesting thing, ladies and gentlemen, is Jared Hakama. And I don't know Jared Hakama personally. I have, exchanged pleasantries with him, have had a brief conversation, nothing too serious. He has come on. He was a guest on Erasmo Castro's show when I was there, and I know of him. I know little of him. The little that I know, I think Jared Hakama is amazing. That guy is a workaholic, and after the Republicans painted South Texas, the Rio Grande Valley red, he's got a fire under him. He's like, oh man, we gotta get him back. Blue, 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 blue. He's gearing up for these primaries. He's campaigning hard. He's working. He's attending. He's attending political functions. And look, I don't want to say that I know, but I have a general idea that the relationship between the Democratic chair, Jared Hakama, and our Cameron County clerk, Sylvia Garza Perez, they're close. I don't know them on a personal level. I've exchanged pleasantries with them, but they're pretty close. Why? Because Mr. Hakama, he's been the Democratic chair for a while. And everyone that knows that Sylvia Garza Perez has been in politics, is a strong blue for decades. So they're close. So just imagine Jared Hakama standing next to Denise Garza. And you know what he's doing? He's doing his job. He is doing the right thing. Jared Hakama is a man of principle. Why do I say this? Because he is all about party. This picture is very telling for the character that is Mr. Jared Hakama. Why do I say this? Because he's close with Sylvia Garza Perez. Are they best friends? They're close. Sylvia Garza has won 2 races, possibly 3. This would be the 3rd or 4th, if I'm not mistaken. Jared Hakama is showing what a party chair is supposed to do. He could have gotten, and his little moños and be like, oh no, Denise Garza is the incumbent. Sylvia Garza Perez is my girl. She's my BFF. I'm not going to her party. What did he do? He did the right thing. He is the Democratic chairperson. He's supposed to show support. He's supposed to show his face whenever a Democrat runs for any public office in Cameron County. Why? Because that is showing solidarity. That is showing you, hey, I may not agree with you. I may not agree that you have a chance to beat my girl, but I am here. You want a picture? Yes or no? And that's not Jared Hockema. This is Frankie talking. Jared Hockema is a lot more smoother than I am, a lot more smarter than I am for sure. But Jared Hockema is doing his duty as a Democratic chairperson. He is showing people that it is about party before oneself. And that's huge. Why am I saying this? Well, let's just say that his counterpart is not doing their job. Now, Bam Morales, as of late, he's a Brownsville resident. He grew up in Cameron Park. Bam Morales has announced that he intends to run as a Republican for District 34 for Congress. Now, there is a lot of question marks leading up to this race. Why? Well, Governor Abbott is set to call a special legislative session in mid-July, 3 weeks from now, on the 21st. The legislators are supposed to meet, and one of the key topics besides THC, which we talked about earlier this week, last Friday. Besides the THC issue and other important issues, one of the main topics before Austin is redistricting the map. And one of those maps is District 34, where we are. And one thing that many people anticipate is that District 34 will be redistricted, will be rezoned. That will heavily favor the Republican Party. There is chatter, there's rumors going out there that Mayra Flores might come back and run against Vicente Gonzalez for the third time. Mayra Flores has made an announcement previously on the record that she will be challenging Henry Cuellar out of the Loreto Webb County for Congress. But many people in Austin, the movers and shakers, are saying, hey, not so fast. Not so fast. Might not come back. But while this is going on, we have Bam Morales, who was one of the first, if I'm not mistaken, to throw his hat in the ring for the Republican Party. And what did we see from his announcement party? We saw family and friends gather. We saw his support team. Those individuals that once supported Mayra Flores, that once worked for Mayra Flores, they came out in support for Bam. They were showing solidarity with their fellow colleague. A little bit, Tucker. But one person, ladies and gentlemen, one person that wasn't there was Miss Deborah Bell. Now, again, it is very important, very telling for individuals not to show up. Why? Why are you saying this, Frankie? Well, because it is a very, very telling sign. Because as a Democratic chairperson, you're supposed to not necessarily endorse people, but you're supposed to, hey, show somewhat of a support system for the person. And again, this isn't a student council race, ladies and gentlemen. This isn't a nonpartisan race. This is the big leagues. This is Congress. And again, in Bam Morales' party, we had his friends, people that were loyal to Mayra Flores, now are loyal to Bam Morales. But it was very telling whenever we saw the Republican chairwoman absent. Now you may say, you know what, Frankie, she's a mom. She's got priorities. Optics. Optics is everything, ladies and gentlemen. Optics in politics is very telling. Do you think that the Democratic, I apologize. Do you think that the Republican big dollar donors aren't aware of this? They are. They see this moving forward. And they think, I don't know. So again, is Frankie Olivo reading too much into this? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. This picture that I have before you speaks 1,000 words, ladies and gentlemen. 1,000 words to me, to the politicos. I know you're going to say, hey, Zeke is just a friend. Zeke, you're reading too much into it. There's more to it. Why? Maybe because we saw Sylvia Garza Perez dining with Morgan Lamantilla. And again, these people, of course, they're friends. Of course, they associate outside of politics. Yes. But people don't read that. There's a lot more that goes into these things. Again, optics is everything, ladies and gentlemen. Everything. At least to me. At least to me. Did Senator Hinojosa, is he hearing things from his advisors and saying, hey, Morgan might challenge you again? Why is she getting the Cameron County movers and shakers together? You could say, hey, she's just throwing a victory celebration for Pedrito Cárdenas. Well, possibly. Remember, politicos don't work the way you and I work. They play chess. They're always 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 steps ahead of everybody. And they're planting seeds. Why? Because eventually they're going to need their support. That's the way politics works. Now I hear the rain. This picture, ladies and gentlemen, that I have before you is very telling. Is State Senator Adam Hinojosa and local Republicans meddling in the local Cameron County clerk Democratic primary race? Possibly. We saw how Deborah Bell and Susan Rubalcaba, leaders for the Republican Party, how they spent money. They endorsed, the Republican Party spent money and endorsed Democrats. Something that's, I don't want to say unheard of, but bad optics. Bad optics. And also we saw how Jared Hockema, the Democratic county chairperson, how he showed up. He did his job. He's a man of principle, unlike Deborah Jobless Bell, who didn't show up for Bam Morales' announcement party. There's reasons for it, of course. They want Susan and Deborah. They don't want Bam Morales. They want Eric Flores. To run against Vicente Gonzalez. Who's Eric Flores? We'll talk about it in our next episode. But that's no reason why Deborah Jobless Bell shouldn't have appeared at Bam Morales' announcement party. She's supposed to be there. She is the Republican chairwoman for Cameron County. It doesn't matter if she does not support the candidate. It's all about optics. And Jared Hakama showed us that, hey, I'm all about the party. I may have a close relationship with Silvi Garza Perez, but that's not going to stop me. Because what happens if the impossible happens and Denise Garza wins? Then Jared Hakama is going to have to come with his tail between his legs and be like, oh, hey, well, I guess let's work together. No, like, I guess. What do you think? No. He's got to do that from the very beginning. Hey, let me know in what the party can help you. Why? Because you're a Democrat. Brownsville, I pose to you the question. Is a state senator, Adam Hinojosa, and local Republicans meddling in the local Cameron County clerk Democratic primary? Possibly. It seems that way. But as in politics, as they say, only time will tell. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Frankie Olivo. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to YouTube. We are titled under Frankie Olivo TV. Good Morning Brownsville will come on live to you Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. religiously. I don't ask for much, Brownsville. All I ask for is a simple subscription to our page. Once again, my name is Frankie Olivo, and this is Good Morning Brownsville. Thank you so much for your time and your attention. Hope you all have a great Tuesday. See you when I see you. Peace!